All right. Hey, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to this Friday's Hack and Play. I'm going to go through setting up a Drupal Commerce site that sells files. And it's taken me a minute because I just finished a presentation on Drupal Commerce actually and I managed to brick my local environment. So give me 1 second while I just get that set up. All right. There we go. Things are back in place. So thanks for tuning in. If you're not familiar with Drupal Commerce is the native e-commerce module for Drupal. I am a co-maintainer of it, and it was created by Ryan Sarama long ago in 2009, and is maintained by Centauro. And there's various ways to sell access to things, and one of the ways is through the Commerce License module, and a layer on top of it is the Commerce File module, which allows you to sell file access via license. So license is like it sounds. You make a purchase, you get a license, and that license grants access to something. And in this case, we'll use file. Recently, Centauro received funding through a client to give the Commerce File and License module some love. So there is now a Alpha 21 of license and a beta for Commerce File. So that's exciting to do. If you're curious to learn more about Centauro, I highly recommend going to centauro.io to learn about what they provide for services around Drupal Commerce, and also learn about Centauro Commerce, which is a headless open SaaS built on Drupal Commerce itself. So I'm going to get set up building a little bit of a backstory. Is my wife started selling cookies, and she ended up buying a lot of cookie cutters. We found out like one day she ordered $175 worth of cookie cutters to just buy things ahead of time instead of buying and ship and waiting for them to ship, because a lot of times we need custom cookie cutters. So I was finally like, let's buy a 3D printer, because everybody on Etsy is selling cookie cutters and using 3D printers and just selling the prints. So got a 3D printer and started making custom STLs. And I was like, I should get in on this. And well, instead of going on Etsy, why don't I just create my own store using Drupal Commerce? Hence why I'm doing this on the Hack and Play today. So I'm going to create a Drupal Commerce store that allows me to sell STLs, which I don't know what STL stands for, but it's the 3D object file that you put into a slicer and then put the sliced G code into your 3D printer. So to get started, I've got my Drupal 9 site, right? I'm pretty sure it's Drupal 9. I didn't accidentally install Drupal 8. Let's wait for the status page real quick. So I've got my Drupal 9.2 Beta 1 site up, and I have the Gin theme installed for admin, so I get a little bit slicker of an admin experience, and I'm using the new front-end theme, Olivero. So let's get started. So let's look at the Drupal Commerce page, and Drupal.org doesn't show you how to add modules yet on the default page. But if I were to go to the release and view the release, it's got the install with Composer command here. So I'm going to copy that, and let's do Composer require. So it's going to download all the dependencies. Drupal Commerce was one of the first Drupal modules to use Composer back when Drupal 8 didn't really even fully support Composer, and that's because some of the core data has been abstracted to different libraries that help power its addressing and localization. So now we've got Drupal Commerce. We'll go through and let's go to the extensions, and Drupal Commerce is made up of a suite of submodules. So we'll go ahead and enable some of the basic ones right now. But it is taking a minute. Docker has been unfriendly to me for performance today, more than usual. So if we go to Commerce, there's the core Commerce module. We have Cart, Checkout, and a lot of these were abstracted out or are abstracted out. So that way you can pick and choose. Some people don't need Cart. They just do Checkout because they're doing admin-based orders, or they use Cart for quotes only, and they don't have a checkout. Like you just build a cart, that's the quote, and that's it. We'll install log because that provides activity logs. Number pattern lets us create custom number patterns for our orders. We'll do order, payment. I'm going to install the payment example. And looks like I'm just going to install everything. Tax, I'm going to leave off because I don't know if I'd actually need to install tax. Probably, but it's a downloaded file. So I'm just going to ignore that for now and click install. And when you install different modules within Drupal, it's going to figure out what any dependencies are, because there's some other modules I need to install for this to work, like address, blah, 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 blah. Let's click continue. And look at commerce file. Now, I know commerce file depends on license. So at least it used to. I'm pretty sure it still does. So I'm just going to close this page and we'll just grab the instructions for installing license or installing commerce file. Because since commerce license is the dependency, it will get installed for us. And we'll wait for this to finish loading. Jeez. This is taking way longer than it normally would. Also, this is what I get for not using the command line to install a module. So while that's running, I'm going to let me paste that composer require command to get commerce file, and I'll just start getting this installed while we're going. So it installed the interval module, recurring period, advanced queue, commerce license, and we have the file, I'm going to open this in VS Code because I'm actually curious about the interval and recurring period modules because that's new. So let's take a look at some of the things that were added. So interval provides a field widget for defining a date time interval, and recurring period provides a configurable plugin for defining time periods. That's interesting. Let's go look up interval. So the cool part about them being separate packages is that means it can be reused. All right. So it's a standalone that lets you define items here. And we have recurring period. Which is a plugin type for defining recurring periods. This is built for use in Commerce License and Commerce Recurring. Okay. So there's that. And I'm really concerned that this is spinning for so long. 1 second. Let me go. Oh, so ddev MySQL. One trick that I do whenever I have a site that's just thinking for a long time is I'll do show process list to see what's going on. Oh, so it's rebuilding the router right now. So the caches are being rebuilt. Let me just see what other. Let's see. Let's stop the other site I have running to see if that improves anything. Okay, or it's the fact that 19 modules are enabled in one run. Okay, so let's go look at some of the things that were added. So now we have orders, our product attributes, products, promotions, configuration. We've got the full boat here. Commerce should have installed our default product type of, it's called default. So we're good to go. Let's go install the file module now. And I'm tempted to do it from the command line, but let's do it. So commerce file provides the ability to sell file access, which requires license, the interval field. So let's install license first. So I'm going to search for license. Commerce license provides a framework for selling access to local or remote resources. License could be used to give access to a role, for instance. So you could say if somebody has, while somebody has an active license, they have access to this role, and that role could give them elevated privileges, such as private, access to private content, to downloading all private files, and such like that. Which reminds me, if I'm going to be selling files, I want to have the private file stream available. And this, I don't actually know where this is documented inside of Drupal. It used to be configurable from the user interface, but I'm going to create a new folder, not reveal it in Finder. I'm going to create a new folder. I'm going to call it private. And so that way it exists. I'm going to create a README. So Drupal lets you have a public files directory and a private files. If you have a public files directory, it's usually in site's default files, and everything over here is available to the web browser. That's why there's these HT access to prevent access to some things that are intended to be private, like the PHP directory, where Twig is installed. But you can point it to a private directory, and anything that should not be accessible over the web server is installed into this directory. It said I can't remember where it's actually documented. Oh, decrease it one bump. But I do know it's in this default settings.php. So if we look here for files, private path. So if I set this, it will let us store files outside of the doc root. And Drupal has a /system/download route, which streams the file for download. So let's go to the bottom of settings.php. And I'm going to paste this path. And any path in here is relative to the doc root for Drupal. So inside web. So all I got to do is --private, save the file. And now once I run a cache rebuild inside Drupal, it will realize that this is the private file directory. So to do that, I'll do ddev drush-cr. Drush is the Drupal command line or Drupal shell, which is why it's called drush. And cr is a cache rebuild. The cache rebuild causes the Drupal service container to rebuild and other caches. And anything that's inside the settings is something that's consumed by the service container as like general settings for how Drupal runs. So we've got, let's wait for that to run. So now I have license, recurring, and time period in advanced queue. If I go to, I want to just see what got added to the user interface after installing Commerce License. So I have a licenses tab. And if I go to configuration, we'll see that this should just be an empty state because it's like looking at your orders. Nothing's been ordered yet. If I go to configuration, stores currencies. Oh, I probably need to import a default currency. We'll get to that though. Checkout flow. So there's nothing in here for license types. Probably because we need to have a module which provides a license type. So let's go install file. And for the record, the last time I set something like this up was for Drupal 7 and completely different modules. In a few sites I've built, we used the recurring module to handle licenses, not actually the license module itself. So let's install Commerce File, which now has all of its dependencies installed. That's interesting. It does require cart. Of course, a lot of things. Let's see. So it requires license and checkout. Oh, because checkout has a soft dependency on the cart module. That's probably why. All right, so we have the file module installed. Let's see if I go to file and I go to configure, limit the number of times a user can download a licensed file. That's interesting. I know a few times, I think I bought a book and I was able to use that download only 5 times. So why don't we do the same thing here? If I sell a file, I only want somebody to be able to download it 5 times, and then they have to repurchase it. Download, the default download and IP address limits for download files. All right, so let's go ahead and look at our product variation types. Because when it comes to selling, in Drupal Commerce, there's products which reference product variations. And the product variation is what somebody's actually purchasing. Such as, think of it where when you go pick a product from your warehouse to ship, you have a purple shirt that's small, medium, large. Well, you have that style of shirt, but the variation is the small purple shirt, the medium purple shirt, the large purple shirt. Because that's what somebody's actually purchasing. So we're going to click provide a file for download and provides license. So these are called entity traits, and that's a commerce specific API, we'll call it. So if we go to plugin entity trait, product variations that sell a file must use this trait. This adds a field to the product variation type for storing the digital files. All right, so we want it to provide the file for download. And we want the license because we want them to be able to come back and download it. Although I'm kind of curious what happens if we just provides a file for download without a license. I'm guessing nothing, since the trait just adds the field. So let's just do both of these. I'm curious real quick. So it implements file access, license access, the download URL for files, and validates the license access. So here we go, validation handler. All right, so it looks like it has some helpers in there. So the file download trait is required for the license trait to work. So if I were to try to save this with provides a license file, activate license when it's placed. Actually, we're going to leave that off because we want it to trigger once it's been completed and payment has been. So let's click save. So when an order has been placed, that doesn't necessarily mean that it has received payment. It has just completed checkout. The license trait requires an order item type with the order item license trait. It was created automatically for your convenience. That's useful, but we need to also provide a file for download. So let's click save. I'm curious why automatically select the license trait if the file trait was selected. Oh, I did it the opposite way. So we now have a product variation type that provides a file for download. So if I look at manage fields, we'll see files, which is a file type, license expiration, and the license type. So we should be all set to go. So let's go add a product. Products. And we'll click add product. Womp womp. I need to create a store, a new default store. And this should, okay, created a US dollar. Name, put STL store. One, two, three, four, five. Fish Street. And so when you create when you set up commerce, you have to set up different stores. And what's really neat is Drupal Commerce has multi-tenancy built into it. So you can actually have different stores that serve different billing countries, that have different currencies. So you could create downloads, like let's say you wanted to sell downloads internationally, but you wanted to respect different currencies. So if anybody came from Europe, you could have them shop via the European store and see prices in euros and do proper taxes for those countries. But I'm going to say that if your billing address is also the United States, sorry, I can't serve you. So we'll hit save. Zip code is not in the right format. Well, that's weird. 53140. Let's click save. 3140. Great. Everybody just saw my address. That's okay. It's on public record anyways. So we've got the store now, and it's set as my default store. So let's go back and add a product. What would be neat is, I know this whole flow for like first setup has been like a crux for a problem, but it'd be neat if we set a session variable that said, oh, they created a store because they were prompted to from adding a product, that once they created a store, said like, oh, let's go make your first product, and brought them back here. So title, let's call this, we're going to say Charizard. This is a pretty sweet Charizard STL. So I have save and add variations, but actually I want to change something. I want to change a setting because I don't have variations actually, which means I'll lose my product data. But if I go click and edit this product type, I don't have multiple variations actually because I don't have different attributes. So I'm going to click save because I'm not going to have different versions of the STL. I mean, I guess I could, and I have seen this where people sell like a 3-inch, a 4-inch, or a 5-inch cookie cutter version. So actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to change that. And no, I'm going to turn this one off. I'm going to have the default be something that doesn't have variations. And let's go back to products. Or I have that open. Let's do add product. And we'll do Charizard and Charizard SKU. We'll say that's the SKU name. The price, let's make it be, the STL file is $3.99 because everybody loves stuff that ends in 99 cents. It's published. The license type is file. It'd be neat if this didn't show if we only had one license type available. And when I say neat, I'm using these as a way to come back, watch, and provide patches because it's an open source project, which means that we can improve the user experience as we've use it. The value here overrides the globally configured limit. Enter 0 for no limit. This feels a little odd because I don't know, I don't actually know that I have this set to be 5. So that reads a little confusing, but I know I have it set to be 5, so we'll skip that. Different expirations. It's a license expiration interval based on reference date, or rolling interval, or unlimited. So I want them when they buy this file, so I could have it say that, it's an interval that they get it for access for 1 year. Like I know some books, when you buy ebooks, they say you can download it 5 times over the next 1 year. We're going to say unlimited. Like once somebody buys access to this file, they'll forever get it. And I'm going to drag over this STL. And for the record, it cannot be uploaded, only files ending with extensions. I did not actually create this STL. It was found on Thingiverse, so I wouldn't actually sell it, but it's a great example. So I need to stop and go back to my product type and add STL as the valid extension. So manage fields, file, field type. For the record, I know where to click everything because I've been doing Drupal for the past 7 years. 10, 8, I don't know, some odd time. So allowed file, actually I should have come back and edited this right away. Field settings, because it was saving to the private field directory. Number of upload values unlimited, should be limited and set to 1, because I only want 1 file per instance. Allowed file extensions, I only want to sell STLs, so I'm going to change it to .stl. Maximum upload size, let's save. Current upload limit is 100 and Charizard is 180 megabytes. So I will not be using that as my example. So now I've gone through, I've edited the file field so that way I can have STL, which for granted, like, to admit, the default file values are just about everything that's normal. STL is a non-standard file extension. So what would be cool is I'm gonna make some to-dos for myself. To do when enabled, prompt user to review allowed file extensions. And by default scheme, to do this shouldn't be allowed unless private files are configured. I was able to set this up before I added the private file scheme. So those are little to-dos. Those are some nice little patches I can help get in. All right, so now I've saved this. Let's go to products. And now I'm going to create my product. So again, no, not Charizard. Let me find a file that's small. We're going to say Charmander. Sweet low poly Charmander. If I could type Charmander's char. Again, we'll do $3.99. Published file type. We're going to do unlimited. So once you buy it, you get unlimited access. Let's drag over Cyndaquil or Charmander. Which props to Flowistic. I think that's how I said it. Some awesome work uploaded to Thingiverse, a bunch of Pokemon builds, which have made my kids super excited about our 3D printer. All right, so I'm going to click save. And so now if I look at my files inside this private file directory, we now see I have this file here. And when I view it, I cannot access this file. But if I were to hover over my content overview and click on files, we'll see it's here. And actually, so this URL is system files. So system files is a mapper, the inside of modules system. And if we look at the routing, this would be a lot faster if I open PHP Storm, but I forgot to, so we're using VS Code. So we can see it's in the file download controller for download, system files, file path. So we can see it's going to be going through this private file download, which will invoke private access. So if we look at source controller, file download controller, it's not a controller. It's the reason I say it'd be faster in PHP Storm because I can command click on these and get access to the code right away. So function download. So you can see here, it checks the request, it checks the scheme, and it will check the file download access. So I know some of the internals, so I am bouncing around a little bit. Also, I just can't go in a straight line of thought to save my life. But we'll see here in Commerce File module, there is this implements hook file download. So right here, this says module file handler, invoke all file download. And in this hook download, it loads the file. If there's no file, it skips out. It finds the file. And then it loads the licensed file manager and checks if you have access. So if it's not even licensed, but if it does have a license, finds the license and returns the ID, the headers that are used. So let's go ahead and try purchasing this file. First, I need to set up a payment gateway. It'd be neat. I know we've talked for years about having like a setup wizard, but even like a checklist. Like if you went to configuration and like a checklist that says, do you have a currency? Do you have a store? Do you have a product? Do you have a payment gateway? Some kind of like setup checklist would be really great to do. So let's go add our payment gateway. And here we'll just call it, credit card. And we're going to do an example on-site payment gateway. So if you're seeing these words like offsite redirect, think of PayPal. PayPal is when, well, at least old PayPal is when you would click a button and you'd go to like paypal.com and then be brought back to the website. That's an offsite redirect. On-site is when you actually enter your credit card information on the checkout. And just a fake API key. And we could restrict different payment gateways. Like let's say I did have PayPal, but there was some like not safe for work cookie cutters because it's like a bachelorette party or something like that. And PayPal doesn't like selling those things for some reason. Like, I don't know. But for an example, like let's say PayPal doesn't like when there's cookie cutters of naughty bits. So we could say that, if it's PayPal, restrict based off of the product type or a certain flag on the product itself to prevent PayPal from being used for an inappropriate product. So now I have my sample payment gateway. Let's go and I don't know what the dings are. Cheered for the naughty bits. No bits are naughty. All right, so let's see. I can just open this in an incognito window. And we'll go, I didn't set up any menus, so we'll just go visit the product directly. So we've got our sweet Charmander. One thing I would do normally is like add like an image field to the product and like take a screenshot of the rendered STL so that way folks could see it. Maybe I'll walk through it, but first I want to just run through all this. I don't even add the cart block. So let's go ahead and add the cart block into the site, which is under structure. I'm realizing, okay, there we go. The toolbar is great when it's collapsed and you know what things are. So we got structure and block layout. Not everybody is as familiar with Drupal that's watching this, so I'll keep that expanded. Where did the cart block go? It wasn't automatically added to Olivero. So inside our header, no, we'll add it to the primary menu. We're going to click place block, and let's do the cart block. We don't want to display the title, and we want to show the contents in a drop down. Oh, I don't think Commerce has really been tested with Olivero yet to see how well the theming works. It's not horrible, but it could be improved. But to just so everybody knows, Olivero is an experimental theme inside Drupal for Drupal 3.x, I think it might get released. So there hasn't really been much time to test the default look and feel. And I want to make sure I add our breadcrumbs. I'm going to add the checkout progress block as well. So that way when we're in checkout, we can see the progress there. All right. So now I've got my one item. I've got Charmander. Let's go to cart. And we can see I've got my item in my cart. And I can click checkout. So one thing that's interesting is I don't know if guest checkout should be allowed, or how Commerce File handles that if somebody checks out as guest. So I'm going to take a side quest really quick, and we're going to find out what happens. So Commerce File, event subscriber, so actually this wouldn't do anything with Commerce File. It would actually be the next layer inside Commerce License. So inside Commerce License, let's look at source. I know this would be an event subscriber and the order subscriber on order paid and on the place pre-transition. So in orders paid, the license, create license from order item, and I'm assuming that's the same thing in place. All right, so we saw that one checkout that talked about it being on place or activated when payment goes through. I feel like there could be a performance optimization by doing this check ahead of time. So it goes through here and it creates the license. Oh, no, but it finds the purchase entity from the order item. So to do performance improvement, moving this check earlier before license creation. Just because I don't know what goes on inside this order create item, but we're doing it when it might bail out earlier. So it creates license storage, create from order item. This is the interface. So let me go find the concrete class. Create from order item, UID, take the license from the order for the case when orders are created for another user. So the UID for anonymous users is 0. And that means that this license would be created for an anonymous user and lost to the void. So I should go back and I'm going to modify this checkout and this checkout flow. So if I go to commerce, configuration, it's under orders. We have a patch that's actually going to add a top level checkout settings. But checkout flows underneath order made the most sense when we added these. So in commerce, you can have different checkout flows. So if you have different like purchasing flows, you can have different experiences. Like let's say I'm selling STLs here, but what if all of a sudden like my STL shop gets like blows up, or I'm going to sell like some of my wife's like cookie swag. Her company's One Artsy Cookie. Let's say that we're going to call it like One Artsy Cookie Cutter STL shop. Who knows? So default could be for digital purchases where I don't need shipping information. But if somebody buys this t-shirt, I could have a t-shirt order type that goes, or like a clothing order type. So that way it goes through a checkout flow that requires shipping information all on one site instead of having this weird like Shopify site with 5,000 plugins to make it work. Not to just Shopify too much. Shopify is great if you just need like a one and done, quick and easy site that doesn't have any of that, those quirks. So with my default, and what am I looking for here? Oh, so login or continue as guest. We don't want to allow guest registration. So if I save this and straight this out a little bit. So if I were to refresh my checkout, you can only log in, but that's not great because people may not have an account yet. So if I go back and edit my checkout flow, I need to turn on allow guest registration. Now, what I could do is I could allow guest checkout and enforce guest registration after checkout, but they might quit checkout right after they pay, and then they don't register their account, because when they register here, it does create their user account and it converts their order to their user account. That's too risky. I would end up getting phone calls and emails saying, I can't come back and re-download my file, blah, blah, blah. I didn't read the page. After working at Subway for 4 years, people don't read. Like, there's information right in front of them and people just ask you the most simple questions. So I don't like to leave anything to chance. So I did not save that. So let me go and save that change. So that way registration is allowed. So now if I refresh the checkout, we'll see that it pulled in the default registration form, which includes like a picture, email address, username. I'm going to go and quick edit that. So configuration, and that's in the user interface. Right? No, it's not. That's under people, account settings. And under account settings, we have manage fields, manage form display. And that's when I can turn off the picture. Actually, I don't want to do it there. Let me refresh real quick. Under custom display settings, there's register. There's so much hidden. I'm like, I've never really done like a live stream setting up a new Drupal site like this, and I'm realizing there's so much like hidden. Oh yeah, this. Oh yeah, that you only get by having done this so many times and worked with it for so long. So under register, I want to save this, which it looks like once I enabled the customization, it hid things. So if I refresh this page, email address, username, that there is a module called email registration, which would simplify this to just be email address. I'll make my password be password123. Oh wait, but if I add an exclamation point, it's a strong password. So if I click create account and continue, we'll see I'm at the order information. The default look isn't too bad inside Olivero. We've got a card number, CVV. So I'm going to change it to 1234 35th Street and change my state to Wisconsin. And one thing that's really cool about Commerce is it uses the address module, which is built on the addressing library created by Commerce Guys, the previous name for Centauro. And it's a port of Google's lib address. So it actually has all this addressing data and it validates zip codes. So you have to type in a correct zip code for it to validate. Last night I was trying this out and I realized I shot myself in the foot 4 years ago. Our test payment gateway throws an error if you use the zip code 53140. So I don't know why I thought this was a good idea. If we look at 53140, we added tests to handle invalid payments. And right here, billing address, if the postal code is 53140, the order was declined. So I can't use any of my auto-completed stuff because it crashes the payment. So I'm going to real quick change that to 5341. I'm going to save it to my address book because I'm going to come back and buy more files. So click continue to review. We encountered an error. Maybe the date. Second, let's go to the order and go to the carts. Let's see if there's an order log that's telling me why it's rejecting. There's not. Why is this erroring out? CVV 123 22. Oh, What? One second. I honestly don't know why this is getting mad at me right now. Let's go to payment, tests, functional. For 111. Go to 2024. Well, this is just so we make this be generic on its own, so that way users don't see. So it's a decline message add error. I'm gonna add a debugging so I can figure out why it's declining. You've got to be kidding me. Payment method add form. Let's see here. Oh, maybe it's in the logs. Okay, so let me go to reports, recent log messages. I thought it was the number. The payment method was declined. Well, I know it's because of this. The payment was declined. The payment method was declined. Oh my goodness. Wait, did I? Hold on. Did I? Is it seriously in here twice? You've. So I didn't shoot myself in the foot once, but I did twice because 2 Kenosha zip codes are invalid and throw and throw exceptions. So there's nothing wrong with Drupal Commerce here. It's me when I wrote tests forever ago. So yep, tips to any software developer out there when dealing with address data and validation: don't use anything remotely close to your own address or something that you would commonly type in or autocomplete, because you're just going to shoot yourself in the foot 4 years later when you start actually testing a few things. So, all right. So I've got this. Let's do pay and complete purchase and see what happens. Yeah. So now I can see payment complete. Your order number is 1. You can view your account when you're logged in. Downloads. All right. So I'm in here and I actually want to adjust that a little bit. So if I go to commerce, configuration, open licenses, orders, checkout flows. And I want to highlight this because this is a new feature. So anybody that's watching this and used Drupal Commerce before, this is something new. Before, you could only customize this checkout text by overriding the twig template, but now you can actually do it from this form. So completion message. So I'm going to change it from plain text to full HTML. And I'm going to add a line break. I'm going to browse the available tokens. And so let's go to the order, and I want to copy the URL, and I'm going to copy that. And let's take this here. Right here, I'm going to say view your order. Your order numbers are, say click here to view your order. And I'm going to highlight the entire click here, because whenever somebody says click here, it's like, do you click on here or do you click the entire thing? I'm going to paste the token in. and close this out. So let's click update and save. So now if I go back and refresh my checkout complete page, I now have a link to my order right here. Status complete. Oh, interesting. When I view the order receipt, I don't have a link to the download, but I do have one here. If I click this link, you'll see let's just copy the link address. So it's commerce file /1 download. It's not the system file. And it will let me download my STL. See if I open it, should pop open Xcode. And we will see our file. Maybe. Sometimes Xcode wants to just open right away and show it. Other times it doesn't. So, all right. So we've got our order. What happens when I go to my account? So I can see my payment methods. And just so everybody knows, like Drupal Commerce, it never saves the full credit card number. The test payment gateways might. No, they don't. They use a token as well. So most modern payment gateways, they save your credit card number somewhere, and then they give you a token, and that token represents their credit card number, and you can use that to charge saved cards. And that's how all commerce payment gateways work. So payment method, orders. If I view my order, I have no way to access my downloads. So maybe I need to add access to a view somewhere. Oh, is this going to render? Okay, there we go. There's Charmander. This is pretty sweet. Printed it for my kids and a few friends. Fun little print. So we have checkout complete. Oh, which I realized that tab or the block is rendering on all pages. 1 second. Checkout progress is only supposed to render when you're in a checkout, but it seems to be going on everything. So if I refresh, there we go. Order number 1. I have no way to view my order. So let's look at the back end and see if there's something I need to configure. But first, if I go to licenses, we're going to see that there's a license for my user. It was updated on, granted at. We can edit or delete it. I'm assuming if I delete it, then I'll lose access. So this is a product variation it's for. So I'm assuming that commerce file download is that 1 was the license ID. So it says download the file from here, and it's from that license. Let's dig through the code because I'm curious. So commerce file has a routing. So we have it where controller file download controller. And it's past the file ID. So maybe it is just the file ID. Yep. Okay, so those the file ID, and it gets the active licenses for that file. Okay. Special handling for S3. If scheme is S3. Oh, trusted redirect response from there. And then in here, it does a binary final response of the actual content from the file name. All right, no, I don't want to delete the license. Okay, good. It did the confirmation. So I'm curious if there's any like default views I'm missing, or maybe I need to give some permissions. Let's go to people, overview, and permissions. Let's see if I'm missing any kind of permissions here. So commerce, no, commerce checkout, commerce file. We don't want to bypass license control. View own licenses. Maybe. Let's see. I don't know when that would be use, let's search for view own commerce license. Here we go. View my files. So commerce, view my files in the commerce file module. So if I add this permission, let me scroll down, 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 down. And if I refresh this page, if I go to my account, files, now I have access to the files here. So that's I'm going to make a new file called notes. User cannot view files without this permission. Isn't obvious. I can't type. Isn't that's what's obvious is I can't type. Isn't obvious. This needs to be granted. Maybe a bug in license for not enabling it by default. So that's not really a bug with file. I would consider it just a quirk with the license module. I'm going to add some more notes. So file, private, path, commerce. File should be loud about no private file path configured. And for all I know, in these hook installs, that's not there. Let me look at file. So in a modules.install file, it can implement hook requirements, which says, hey, there's some things wrong with your site. It needs to be updated. But commerce file doesn't do that. And that status, that would show up in the status report. But even then, like if you have a misconfiguration, it's not like Drupal yells at you to go look at the status report. It's just you need to make sure you go to the status report to see if there's anything misconfigured. So now we have it where never expires, downloads. It didn't track my downloads, I realized. I downloaded it once and it's not showing that number here. What we can do is do ddev mysql, and there's a table in commerce file called commerce file download log. Provides a temporary download log used for setting download limits, not meant to be user visible. So let's do select all from that table, and we have one download, but it didn't recognize it. So I'm gonna download it again. 2, 3, 4. So there's 5 rows. So now it should throw an access denied. Which is weird when you're on this page. So that's one thing to note. So file access works, but doesn't show count. UX around clicking file that will give denied access. And that's, you know, that could be worked around. Like maybe instead of, like that could be one that maybe Drupal core. No. So file one download. Let's even look at that right now. So argument entity access of file.download. So maybe it's Drupal core is just throwing that 403 denied, when really we should do like some kind of redirect. So instead of this custom access, or instead of this access, it should be, you know, a always true check access in controller and redirect. Like redirect to the current page. There could be some kind of workshopping done there, but definitely getting this to not be clickable would be a good one. So that wasn't too bad actually, getting that set up all in all. Let's see. I'm trying to think of what else we could do. So we have it where we can view files. This is weird. I wonder if Alavero is the one that's changed in the order that when you click on something, it causes everything to shift around. So we have the license. Let's see what happens if I delete the license, but I keep clicking the wrong buttons because it keeps shifting around. So let's clean up some of these tabs. And we'll go to licenses. Let's click edit. I don't want to delete it, but let's say that let's say I want to, oh, there's no way to deactivate one. So license state is active, but I can't manually deactivate it. So I want to just check something real quick. So inside commerce file, commerce license, inside entity, scroll down to the base field definitions. So type UID state, the license state. It's configurable. License state, form, view as a transition form. But I don't actually see it. So this is, let's click on view, which brings me back. Oh, there we go. Oh, so we need to be able to view a license from the edit or consolidate those. So I'm gonna make a note. So license view, no way to view. No way to view a file, a license to, so transition form shows up. So if I click suspend and I refresh this page, so there's no files. If I click reactivate, oh, confirm activation. You get the access, and if I click expire, I don't see the file either because it expired. So that's pretty cool. So if I do revoke, what's revoke do? It just completely kills the license altogether. And if I went to my orders, I can still see this here, but not the license state, because there's probably not an easy way to expose that. Let's see if I go to orders, and if I view the order, order moved from draft to completed by the place order transition. We need to see payments and edit here. It'd be neat to be able to have like a licenses tab and see all the licenses that were attached to an order and purchase. So we have everything there. And that was a lot more straightforward than I thought it was going to be. Like there were some hiccups, but there wasn't. Or there was some hiccups, but it wasn't too bad. I'm going to walk through creating another product now that all the kinks are out again. So let's go do, you know what I'm going to do? I'm actually going to extend the product a little bit. So let's go to extend. We're going to have some fun now that I got the big parts done. And for this, I'm going to make it faster by just doing drush. So let's do, oh wait, maybe structure media. No. So let's do ddev drush en dash yes for just yes. We're going to do media and then media library and layout builder. And let's see. Let's get the media library set up so I can add pictures. And while that's running, I'm going to reopen, I'm going to upload the Cyndaquil STL file. So that loads, and we'll put a screenshot of the render. If I can drag it to a decent, whatever, good enough. So I'm gonna do a way to zoom out. Oh, all right. That is good enough for the sakes of this demo. And same for Charizard, which I didn't realize I could click on it and open all those details. So that's something new. And Charizard is going to get the same treatment of a quick screenshot. All right, so those are being added. And that way we can add images to our product and use Layout Builder to customize the display of our products. This is, I wonder, how long has my MacBook been on? One day? I don't know about anybody else, but with Docker 3, I feel like I need to reboot the Docker engine a lot more. All right, so we've configured things here. Now I'm going to go to structure. That's commerce, but whatever. Let's close this. Let's go to structure, and then we have media types. And I have the standard install. Okay, great. It installed the image. So let's go to commerce, and we're going to go to configuration. Let's go to products. We'll go to product types. And we're going to go to manage display. And we're going to use layout builder. And I'm going to allow each product to have its layout customized, just in case like I want to customize one to make it look a little bit more different. All right, so that's done. And I'm going to attach the image to the product variation actually. So in commerce, for the data structure, there's the order, which has order items, and the order item references a product variation. So order item and a product variation is a purchasable entity. So the license references a product variation. The order item references a product variation. So if I want that image to render, I want to put it on the most common related item, and that's the product variation. So let's add a field. So we're going to manage fields. I'm going to click add field, and we're going to select media from something here. So reference, we'll do media. We'll call it images. And the difference between file or media is, or file and image fields is they're one-offs. Media allows you to reuse an image. So since this is Drupal Commerce and I have content management with my e-commerce platform, I could write blogs, reference that picture in anywhere else, and tie into that product if I wanted to. So we're going to put unlimited values because what if I have different angles of an STL? Let's save. And media type is image. Sort by none. Let's do save. And I forgot I was going to set up another version that had another type that has attributes, so I could have sizes. So I could say, oh, this is a 3-inch cookie cutter, 4-inch cookie cutter, etc. But let's do this first. So let's go back to my products. I'm going to products, and let's edit Charmander. So now that I've got this added, I can click on add media. It's going to open the media library, which if you use Drupal and Drupal 7 and Drupal 8, the early days, you'll realize like media management was a real big bear. Like it wasn't the greatest. It is severely improved since Drupal 8.6 and 8.7. So I'm going to click save. We're uploading and saving the media item. And I'm going to click insert selected. And it added the selection. And then the add media is there so I could keep adding different angles. And I'm going to click save. All right, so now if I view Charmander, we should see the picture's not there because I forgot to modify the layout. So I'm going to actually just customize the layout for this individual product instead of going to manage the default one. So it says here, you're editing the layout for this I'll edit the template. So that way when I add my next product, it can use it as well. So let's close this tab. And I'm going to turn off the content preview because it's a bit much right now. So I can click add section and get I'm going to add a 2-column section at the top that's split. That's split 50-50. And actually a section above that's 1 column. Sorry, 1 second. I'm going to put the title field at the top. I'm going to put the body field on the left and the variations field. In the right-hand side, I want the images. So product fields, product variation fields. We'll do the images. I'm going to hide the label and render the media item. Let's click add block. And if I were to toggle this preview content, the preview content just creates a bunch of gibberish. And in here it picked a random file. So I can see this going on. The variations doesn't render because it's above the top. So let's go here and let's click configure. And it's at the add to cart form. Perfect. Body field. I want to add a few more things here actually from the variation. So let's add the price because people want to know how much something costs. And we'll say it's inline and we'll give it a calculated price format. And we want to apply promotions to this. So let's add to block. So that way if I have an active promotion, people will see that price. We'll add it there. And yeah, we'll go for that. So let's click save layout. And we'll go back to that product. And if we view it, we'll now see that we have our customized layout where we have the title at the top. And we can have our price. And to show off what that calculated price meant, let's go to promotions. And we're just going to make we're going to add the promotion. Call it crazy sale. With a display name of Wowza because it's so ridiculous. And we're going to do percentage off each matching product. And we're going to give 10% off everything. And we'll click save. So if I refresh Charmander, it didn't. Oh, wait. This is a bug that is documented. If you don't provide the start date, it picks the date in UTC, which is in the future, so it didn't apply. So you'll notice it still says that price. Let's just change this to be yesterday. And if I save and I refresh, it still didn't apply. Second, I want to see 10% off, include the discount and the displayed unit price, enabled any promotion. Let me go add it to the cart and see. Oh, it's, I see. So there's render cache. The render cache caught it for this logged in user, but it didn't here. So we'll see it says 359. What's interesting is, so what that means is promotions need to bust cache on anything using calculated prices. So we're able to show the calculated price. And if I add it to the cart and I view the cart, go to checkout. Is it there? Oh, show only the discount in the order total summary. That didn't work quite as I thought it would, but we see that I got the discount. So the next step, or the next thing I want to do, so that's layout builder, that's with media, so I can have all the items. Let's create one that has variations. So I'm going to go and create a new kind of product type. And this one will be for cookie cutters. So the default is for just regular 3D prints. And let's say I'm going to make one for cookie cutters because I want that to have variations. So let's do a new variation type. We're going to call it cookie cutters. And these are STLs for cookie cutters and preset sizes. Because so for those who don't know, most cookie cutters are between 3 and 5 inches. And you could download one at a set size and then scale it, but sometimes it doesn't work out too great. So you can actually sell them at preset sizes. So that way when somebody sends them to the 3D printer, it's a much more reliable print. So we're going to create a new variation type, and we're going to allow variations. Let's click save. And then I'm going to go ahead and add some attributes for this. So we're here now. I'm going to go to product attributes. And this is, again, domain knowledge. There is a big gap in knowing, like, okay, I added a product type. Now, how do I create attributes? So add product attribute, and the name will be size. And one thing that's neat is we can choose to have it render as radio buttons, a select list, or rendered attribute. Rendered attribute is mostly like colors, so that we could have like a color swatch. I'll go for a select list. I'm going to attach it to my cookie cutters. And wait for it to create this form. So now I can go in and add a name. So I'm going to call it 3-inch, 4-inch, and we'll do 5-inch to start. So we're going to click save. And let's go back. Actually, I want to go to my product variation type that I just created and manage the fields. I want to re-add the media field. So here's one reason that media fields are great too, is if you have the same image for each variation, you don't have to re-upload it. You can just reselect it again from the media library. In Drupal Commerce, we recommend that everybody puts their images on the variation, because then you can have things like, let me show you a demo. So you can have setups like this, where you click on the green color swatch and it shows the green image. The problem without the media module is you're literally re-uploading that image to every single variation, which is a pain. But with the media module, you're just selecting it from the media library. So let's click Save Settings. Let's go to the form display because it looked like it didn't use the media library. Yep, we want media library. Click Save. And let's go back to our product types and turn on Layout Builder for this bundle as well. So every time you have a different type, it has different settings. So there is a lot of clicking around to do to get things set up. especially if the page wants to be slow when it loads. But we'll go through and open the products page. All right, there it goes. So where do you manage display? Unfortunately, there isn't really, like, we could run this duplicate, but it doesn't, we needed some different settings. So we have to go to manage display. We have to turn on layout builder again, and we have to re-customize the default layout. So I have to go to manage layout. There isn't a way to say, like, all right, copy over this layout for me. So let's go, we're going to do a, once you add the section, you can't change its settings. So let's go to add section. We're going to add a 2-column layout again, and we'll add it. So we're actually going to remove the title because it's duplicated. Let's put variations here in the body field above it. Let's add the images. Images. Hide the label. We're going to render to the entity. Default. Let's add the, let's do price. Make it be inline. And to show off a Drupal Commerce feature, I'm going to add the SKU as well. And I'm going to hide the label. And let's put all that above the add to cart block. Let's click save. And let's go ahead and add a new product. While that's loading, I'm going to find there we go. So let's go cookie cutters. And we'll call this the Drupal logo. Because I do actually have a Drupal logo STL that I want to, my wife made some, but she's booked on orders, and I plan on sending these out to some friends in the Drupal community once she has time. Want a Drupal logo cookie? Buy this. Proceeds go to the DA. So I'm going to click save. I meant to click save and add variations. Oh no. That is never fun when there's an error. Component plugin what? Oh, this is actually a bug that's in Commerce but not released yet. When you have layout builder and there's no variations yet, it causes the page to crash. This just got fixed and committed last week, and there hasn't been a release yet. So it's only when you have layout builder and no variations. So let's create our first variation, which it should be generating them for me. So I'm going to go check a setting. So product types, edit. There's my variation type. Oh, I should probably configure this as well. Generate variation titles based on attribute values. And configure the license file. Activate license, we'll just keep that. Order item type is default. Click save. So I forgot to go through and configure the variation type anyways. All right, so now let's click add variation. So the title field should disappear because it's going to be generated automatically. We'll say Drupal logo 1 or 3, and the price is say $10. Actually, most cookie cutters are $5, so we'll just do that. Size, so I can select a size of 3-inch. Oh shoot, I realize that means I gotta, oh yeah, there is supposed to be individual files because it's different sizes. The license doesn't expire. Let's upload some of these screenshots that can go into the gallery. So I have this one here. Just gonna put in some fluff alt text. Let's do this one. Yeah, had you nervous? I had me nervous too. Just like I was sweating bullets over the fact that all of my local zip codes cause payment transaction failures. That was fun to forget that there's a second zip code in there. So I was able to upload all the files, and it automatically pre-selected them for me, and I can click Insert Selected, and bam, we've got all this. Fun fact, if you use Drupal 7 and the media module, there's a sandbox called Media Multi-Select, because it was impossible to select multiple things in the media library and insert them. And the company I was at, I spent 7 days, like 7 full working days getting it to work, and then it finally got committed. And that was like my triumphant like Drupal contribution for the D7 media. Like that was just mind-boggling. So we've got our images. Now let's upload the file, which I'll just drag this over here. Because I don't feel like resetting this, I'm just going to upload this file and click save, and then go back and edit my fields, product variation types, manage fields, file. Again, it's just because I have a non-standard file type that I'm using, and I didn't think to check that. So to go to save settings. All right, I'm going to go back, edit this, and remove that file, and properly upload the Drupal logo. So now I'm going to so a lot of this is the same. So I'm going to click duplicate, and I'm going to duplicate logo 3 because this is the 4-inch cutter, and it copied over all the values in the same reference, which, you know, typically I would remove this file reference because it's going to be a different download file. But for intents and purposes, I'll leave it. I'm going to click save. So now I have Drupal logo 4. The title is 4-inch. I'm going to duplicate this one and add the 5-inch. Now the one bummer, but not bummer, is there's no way to add new attribute values from here. You have to go back to the attributes management screen to add, like, oh, I have a 6-inch cutter. Then you start adding when you're like, oh, well, it doesn't exist yet. There isn't really a user interface for adding that yet. So there we go. Now we've got 4.5. So if I go view this product now, and actually I'm going to go back. I'm going to make one last change. I'm going to say that the 5-inch cutter is $6 because there's a little bit more plastic involved. You know, like pennies of plastic, but you got to make the money somehow. So let's view our product, and we'll see we have the images. There isn't like a gallery type formatter, but we've got all the images here. Now, if I change this to 4, you can see an Ajax spinner went off, and it actually updated our SKU. And if we had different images, we would see different images. And so if I pick 5, you'll see that we received the price of 5, and it updated the SKU. And for the coolness factor, this is all inside Layout Builder, which Layout Builder support was added in the fall of last year. And this wasn't quite working so well before, just because Layout Builder is a completely different way to render things. So we're able to add this to our cart, and we'll get the 5-inch cookie cutter, Drupal logo 5-inch into our cart, and have access. So need to configure this because it's showing the it didn't when it created the order item. That's something that needs to be, I'm going to make a note of. So new product type plus variation generated. When the new variation type is generated, it's not configured very well. Not duplicate, not doesn't have a lot of the expected defaults. That's something. So if we go to manage display, oh, is it because I have it in here? So if I say product types, no, we're not managing the product types. Product variation types, manage display. And if we customize the cart display, we'll want to just show the, I actually don't even know what it's set up for in the default, so I'm going to compare it. So if we go to manage display, this is the nodes I'm talking about. Like it has these things already pre-configured. We need to do that when one's generated. So list type, product, and product label. Really, is list price? All right. So we'll do product, and we'll do the label and link to the reference. So if I hit save, that will fix the shopping cart. Or it should. But if we go to checkout, see here, oh, there's the wowza promotion that's running. There's just some weird caching going on. So yeah, so that's adding. So this was actually a lot simpler than I thought. There was some hiccups and just some Drupalisms, but honestly, it wasn't that difficult, especially if you've built a Drupal commerce site before. There's just some configuration items that needed, and it could be simplified maybe here and there for people who aren't used to Drupal. But overall, like it just took a few extra clicks here and there to make sure that it was picked off just right. So what I'll probably do is I've started to create my own STLs, and I might actually launch something like this. Like I built myself a wall-mounted MacBook power adapter holder, and maybe I'll just launch a site that sells STLs on top of Drupal Commerce. So thanks for tuning in. I hope you learned some cool things about Drupal Commerce and saw how it could power your, different types of online stores, such as selling files. There is a recurring module that would allow you to charge somebody on a monthly or annual basis for this license. So how this revokes, I actually can't fully remember how license and recurring tie in together, because they do somewhat of the similar things, just in different ways, but they do integrate. And you could say that you only have access to this license for a month, and then recurring renews that license for you. Great. I'm glad that was a good overview of the setup in Drupal Commerce in general. It's a really powerful system. It's been a blast, helping build this and just see what folks have done with it. So what I'll probably do later on is I'll do a follow-up stream which adds recurring access to this. So let's say that I want to sell one-off files, but maybe I want to sell because I'm such a great designer, I'm not. But let's say that I ended up creating a whole bunch of different cookie cutters, or had people on Fiverr design them. And then I said for $20 a month, you get unlimited access to all the things. So instead of buying all these one-off products, which I didn't click products, right? So instead of buying all these individual products, you could buy access to the library of them and be able to download as many as you want all across the board. So that could be something I do next. If you think it's a cool idea, let me know and I can work on it. But thanks for tuning in. I hope this was a fun way to end your weekend. I know I'm going to sign off and go try to clean my pool, because pools are as much maintenance as a child. So thanks for tuning in and have a good weekend.